All right, well, today we are tackling our intermittent issue on the LS3 Miata that took us out of comp this past weekend. Drop the plug wires, forget those plug wires. So we have a 3-day event coming up, and that's gonna be a really, really good time to try to figure this out. We'll have 3 days, so we'll do as much as we can this week. The oddball stuff, like parts that I don't think are the problem, that might be the problem, I'm gonna try to get those in, bring them with us, that way we can change them at the track if the issue is not fixed. Basically, should be a good shakedown to hopefully verify that whatever we do to fix it actually fixes it. That way I don't show up to the next round of comp thinking it's fine because I street drove it and it seemed fine and then have the issue again. That was a tough pill to swallow. Being there, being at comp, feeling good in the car's feeling better than ever because we have long tubes this year, the car's making more power, we got a little more grip. Like, car felt like it would be a solid contender. I was feeling good in it, so it was really tough to just have to step away and say, nope, can't do the battle. So anyway, I say all that to say, we're going to try to fix this dang old thing. We have a couple theories, and we'll see how they go. Before we get started into this, though, I do want to talk about something really important. This is not an ad. This is really important. The RPM Act. So I'll put a link below. You can read about it yourself, decide if it's something you want to support and sign. But this could change the face of what we know and love. And it's pretty terrifying, to be honest with you. It really is. So basically, the EPA is trying to pass a bill, or is passing a bill that, is targeting medium and heavy duty vehicles, trucks using defeat devices, companies making tunes for modern diesels and stuff to, bypass emissions equipment and all that. So it's touted as this thing that's good. Oh yeah, screw those people with their diesels that are bypassing them. But what they did was they put a couple paragraphs in this huge thing, that say something that has huge ramifications. It says that you are no longer allowed to convert a road vehicle into a race-only vehicle. Now, when you think about that at first, it sounds pretty bad. But when you really start to think about how many motorsports use road vehicles converted to race vehicles, you realize that that would wipe the majority of motorsports off the map. The majority. No more sports car racing, no more spec Miata, no more drifting. I mean, unless you're building tube chassis cars, but there's no tube chassis drift cars, maybe a couple of them in the world, but tube chassis drift cars aren't a thing. You're also not allowed to use a road engine and convert it into a race engine. So what engines are there that exist that aren't based off a road engine? I'm sure there's some, but like an F1 car or something. Basically, it would delete all motorsports besides the upper echelon, F1, maybe even NASCAR, but those engines are based off road engines. I mean, not good. Not good is the point. However you feel about climate change and things like that, the motorsports world is such a small indentation in the overall pollution that is happening in this country. So to wipe motorsports off the map does not seem like the right move to me. And anyway, I mean, it's scary. I don't know. I usually don't get all worried about these things. I'm like, it's one of those things. It's never going to actually happen. But this is looking like a real possibility if we don't do something. So anyway, link in the description if you want to check that out and sign it and, support pushing the RPM Act, which would basically just take that part out of it. They can do the rest of it, but that just still gives us our right to convert road vehicles into race vehicles. And you might say, well, what they're not going to come take your cars. They can't come take your car, but what they can do is they can destroy the aftermarket industry, which they're already trying to do. They've been finding companies left and right. And I mean, not just like diesel tuning companies, companies that make cams for engines. This car is a race car. I mean, yeah, I drive it on the street to test it out, but I really only gets driven at the track. It's not like I'm out there putting 15,000 miles a year on this thing. So that is probably what scares me the most because I see how they could do it. They shut all these companies down then. what parts are we going to use to build our cars? If we can't build our cars, we can't race them. So again, sorry, long-winded, just something I feel pretty passionately about, and I really hope that we can do something about it together, but we have to do it together. So, okay. All that being said, out of the way. One thing we already did, Josue came over last night, we pulled the plugs out, and we compression tested it. Every time this car leans out, everyone's like, you blew it up, you blew it up. But dude, I can tell you right now, LS's, an NA can take some shit. They can take some freaking abuse. This car, when it had the 5.3 in it, the tune wasn't quite right, and it was leaning out up top part throttle, which is pretty much the majority of the time I was drifting for probably 10 events. Just full lean, glow in the headers. Motor's fine. So I had full faith that it would be fine, and I normally am superstitious about that kind of stuff. 200 or 210 to 220 compression on all 8. That was the biggest spread, 210 to 220. So safe to say it's probably good. So with that out of the way, just to be sure, well, it's one of those things worth checking so you're not chasing your tail on all these other issues. I didn't think it was that just because it's intermittent, but it's out of the way. It's out of the way. The theory at the moment, injectors are clogged. So I have a rubber fuel line, which could have broken down from the E85 and contaminated my injectors. My fuel filter is back here before my surge tank. So it filters the fuel going into the surge tank, and then the fuel comes from the surge tank, and here's my feed all the way up to the engine. So one thing we're gonna do is change this rubber feed to a PTFE nylon feed so that E85 won't break it down, and then I'm gonna put a filter somewhere right in here. So it'll feed into the filter and then filter to the injectors. So basically I can leave all these rubber lines, and if they do break down a little bit, that'll get caught in the filter before it goes up to the injectors. That's kind of my game plan. We have a nylon line that can't break down, and before that line we have a filter. So in theory we shouldn't have anything breaking down and entering contaminants into our injectors, if that is the problem. Still something I'm going to do anyway. It's really something I should have done in the first place since I run an E85. I didn't. So yeah, that's one thing we're going to do. We're going to pull the injectors out right now, and we're going to take them down to Adam's shop. He has an injector cleaner and flow tester. So we'll go down there, we'll flow them, and just see. And we should know immediately, if they're good or not. If they flow fine, then obviously that's not a problem. We'll still clean them and put them back in, but we'll know. So anyway, that is going to be the first move. Pulling the injectors out, heading down there to go get them tested. All right, well, they are super dirty from the top side. This is just from dirt working its way down to the O-ring from the intake manifold. We'll get them externally cleaned up, and then we're gonna head over to Adam's and see what we see. See what we see. Like I said, I mean, this seems very likely, right? It seems like a very likely cause of the problem, but I've thought that before, so I'm not gonna get my hopes up.
I think that's what you want, right?
Do I stop it?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's
good.
So 2 out of 4. What is that? 60, 35, and then a variance here, 65 to 60. I mean, that's not terrible, but yeah. I mean, I'd say it's safe to say this could be my problem.
Yeah.
I have to check the other 4 real quick and verify, but yeah. All right, well, I cleaned them and it did not fix them. Two of them were just still not happy. The other 6 were all right. They flowed pretty well, but two were basically clogged. I mean, they were barely spitting anything, which explains it. And The ECU then way compensated for fuel, so that means 6 of the cylinders were just getting doused. 2 were getting just enough to fire, or not enough in the cases where it just like bleh. So that, I mean, that definitely explains the problem. Shout out to Kevin, KSR, he's the one who figured it out. So yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do because cleaning them didn't fix them, so we're gonna have to get some replacements. Hopefully we can get some by this weekend, and ideally I'd like to replace that fuel line before I run it with new injectors. Hopefully we have time to do both of those things. All right, well, FedEx finally decided to deliver our stuff only a day and a half late, so kind of puts us in a time crunch. We've got to get this done today. We're still probably going to miss the first day of drifting, which is tonight, but we'll have all day tomorrow and all day Sunday. If we can knock it out today, I've called in Josue as reinforcements to help me get all this done. Like I said, got replacement injectors. We're going to send our old injectors back. I'm sure they'll be able to clean them. They probably have a better process for cleaning them. And then we'll keep these as a set of spares just so we have them in case we ever have this issue. But again, to prevent the issue, we're going to a PTFE line, and we're going to be putting a filter on the feed side. And this is really cool. This is their new spin-on filter setup. So it makes it way easier to change. So basically it'll come out of the surge tank into a PTFE line, through the filter, and then PTFE all the way up. And I'm even going to do a PTFE for the crossover. I got 2 extra 90-degree fittings to make sure I could do that as well, so that nothing past the filter, the second filter, will have rubber that could break down and clog up our injectors. So we're trying to fix it, trying to prevent it from happening again. But again, in case it does, in case anything else happens, we'll hopefully have a spare set of injectors as well. And then Holly sent us some ceramic plug wires. So I kind of screwed up all my plug wires, taking them on and off, trying different stuff. And these are really cool. I didn't know these existed until Josue told me about them. They're ceramic. The boots are ceramic, so you don't have to run the little booties. You don't have to worry about them melting. These are super cool. So I'm really excited to get those on. We shouldn't have to worry about plug wires anymore, which has become a problem since we went to the long tube headers. So yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Deechworks and Holly for getting me everything I needed to try to fix this issue and be sure it's fixed by the end of this weekend. Go drive the car, change anything else we might need to change, and hopefully, again, by the end of this weekend, be 100% certain that the issue is resolved and we're not going to have this problem when we go to Clutch Kickers next round, and we can actually compete. That was a tough break, man. That was a tough break. I don't want that to happen again. So I really appreciate them. Again, they always have had my back. I'm in a pinch. I'm last minute Larry, and they're always there to save the day. So shout out to Deechworks, shout out to Holly. Give them a follow on Instagram or social media if you can, if you want to, just as a thank you, because without them supporting what we're doing here and helping us in a pinch like they always seem to do, it would be really hard to do what we're doing. So, small team, running a drift car, competing against the big dogs, we really need their support. So thanks to them. Enough jibber jabbering, let's get to work. All right, I ran a little paper towel down through there. You can see how much gunk was in there. I just pushed it through with a 1/4-inch extension, and then I've brake cleaned it from every direction. And you can see the gunk that was in there. I think I got them pretty clean. Not as clean as they're gonna get. All right, go underneath. All right, we got the transmount out, the exhaust out, dropped this header down so that we could get to the clamps for the feed line. We noticed the return line had a little questionable rubbing on it through the heat sleeve, so we took it off just to make sure it wasn't rubbed into the line, which it was fine, but doubled up on the heat sleeving, added some more. We got that back in after taking a E85 shower, and yeah, we got the old line out. It's somewhere. Oh, there it is. This is the old line, our old rubber Johnny. So we're gonna replace this with a PTFE one. But we gotta go back to the trunk now to mount the filter, to run the first line to the filter, because this line's gonna start from the filter and go all the way up. So Shouldn't be too bad. Clamping it up there-ish is gonna be the worst part because that was kind of hard to get the old one off. But other than that, it shouldn't be too bad. Fingers crossed. I guess we'll toss the crossover back on loosely just to like close the ports, you know? All right, rails back on, injectors back in. Plug them back in, make sure this is number one. All right, we got the new injectors in, the rails back on, rails are cleaned out. We are gonna remake this crossover, but we're just putting it on for now as like just to block the ports so we don't have all the ports open. We had a really hard time figuring out where to put the filter. So we decided to put it there, raised up some. So I'm gonna build a bracket for that while Raldo and Josue make the lines. Woo! Oh yeah, so you got, like I said, just make it a little long if anything. I always err on the side of long. I'm sorry, I'm leaving. I'll let you do your thing. Cutters are right there. All right, I'm going to the fabrication side of things. The fab department. I'll be in the fab department. All right, got the little legs welded on. So it's kind of funny. This is like normal TIG welding where I'm dabbing the rod pretty often and it looks okay, it's consistent. But then the other side, I was like, let's try to make it look Instagram-y. all I did was just space out the dabs. Obviously the start and end's a little rough because I was going over the tacks, but made it Instagram-y with them spaced out dabs. That's really all, like I said, that's all I had to do. Dude, this welder is so good. It welds so much better. This was effortless. I'm stoked. So anyway, Raldo and Josue got the line. They started from the engine and routed it down. We kind of determined that was going to be the easier way to do it. So they've got it routed. Josuanito is freaking putting rubber on my brake line stuff because they were rubbing on the studs, stuff I didn't even know about. Anyway, that's routed up and the excess is there. So that's the last line. We just got to terminate that, mount the filter, and we done, boys. It's going pretty smoothly. Teamwork makes the dream work. It's hard for me to relinquish control, I'll be honest, but it's been good. It's been good. I trust you guys. What is this? All right, bracket is in. Ended up putting it kind of over this line. We can still get to this line. And then the filter housing mounts here. And honestly, honestly looks less weird since we were able to put it over that line, you know? And we put it straight.
Yeah.
Little guy, what's it? Look at that, boys. All right, now we just need to terminate this last line. You can see it right there. This one goes right chow. These lines are more flexible than I thought they would be. The PTFE, I thought it would be a little too stiff. So that's one, and this one goes up to the rail. All right, lines are done. Got the feed line hooked up, fitting on it. Filter mounted on our filter mount. Me and Jose were just talking about this. If there wasn't enough stuff back here already, we've got filter from the tank into the surge tank, filter going out to the rail. We got dry sump tank, breather tank, battery, kill switch. There's a few things back here. I'm just sad my undercoating's been like gumming off and getting nasty. Makes me sad. It looks so nice when it was freshly undercoated. So we're working on the crossover right now. I've got the OG tune file from Kevin from when it was on the dyno, but we're just going to replace this crossover too because this is rubber. We went through all this trouble to do the feed. Might as well replace this last little line. But this made it tricky because it would have been way easier to mount that filter housing another spot if we could have used the 90s that I got for the crossover. It's always so hard to guess the fittings you need. The feed line, the main bulk of it, coming out of the surge tank, going up to the rail, I knew those two. But totally screwed up getting straight fittings for the other one, but we made it work. Moral of the story. So Josue is now the line master, PTFE line master. He's a freaking pro, so I've just been letting him do it. Me and Raldo both did one fitting each, and both of them, the nylon braid got messed up. Josue is the only one who's successfully done it without messing the nylon braid up. Mess it up right now. Mess it up right now.
I'm fixing on it.
Oops, sorry. Smacked your wrist. Send her to the moon, bud. I would go like another flat. Like get the flats line back up. Like one more flat worth. Maybe do another one. I mean, that's about like the other side. So we'll let that run. All right, see if she fits, brother. This is a hard one because it's so short. It's like if you make it a ½ inch too long, it's not gonna fit. If you make it a ½ inch too short, it's not gonna fit. Oh yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It works. That'll work. Damn it, we made it too long, though. We could have gone a little shorter than that. We almost nailed it. It's tough, too, because it hits the intake, like you said. That's what screws it up. You can't just go straight across. Like, it has to be a little too long. All right, well, we primed the fuel system. We have no leaky leaks. Everything seems good. I'm a little sad about this line. We had our shot to make it right and fix it and it be straight, and we err on the side of caution. I always am too afraid. I'm so afraid I'm going to make a line too short. I always make them too long. But regardless, fuel system seems to be good. So we just got to put the header back on, put the exhaust back on, put the trans mount back on, put the new plug wires on, and I think we're done. And then we get to go rip it. And then we'll find out if we're actually done. But we'll be done with what we know we need to do. So we're getting back to work. This seems to be working so far. Alright, 135 sit. Sweet. Alright, we just gotta throw the other tune on it, the original tune, and fire it up, go take it for a rip. We got 72% ethanol. Everything seems good. Just gotta let it warm up. All right, boys. Fingers crossed. This drive won't tell us a ton because there was times where it would work all right before and then be bad again. But it'll tell us a little bit. nuts than it was when we first got it to. I don't know. It's so hard to tell. When cars gradually get worse, it's hard to tell. And we got stinky 245s on air down. Spinning them. Yeah, it's almost wrench now, if anything. So it was probably having fuel issues on the dyno, I would think. Runs a lot better now, too. Alright, this thing's a rocket ship now. Oh, I can't wait for the next round of clutch kickers. This thing is gonna be a weapon. All right, boys, well, I'm giving that the thumbs up of approval. This thing's a unit again. Like I said, I don't know. It might have more power than it did when we dynoed it. It's hard to tell, but it feels nuts again. It definitely was down a good bit on power. And it felt great at clutch kickers when it was running right, even being down on power. So now that the power's back, it's going to feel pretty insane. Really happy with how it came out overall. Geraldo's idea to move the filter over here, because I was so committed to putting it over here, and we realized that we couldn't, we'd have to steal the 90s for the crossover to make that work, and then, I don't know. All things considered, we came up with good solutions, and I'm really happy with how it all turned out. It's all really nice. Josue made better wines than I do. I screwed this one up, that's why it's taped. So sweet. We'll probably give her at least a wipe down, because she is pretty polleny. And then throw her in the trailer. I gotta throw another set of tires in there, and we're ready to go drifting tomorrow. So I hope to see you guys for that. See if she's fully fixed. I'm not gonna say she's fixed yet. We will know tomorrow. Hope to see you guys there, but for now, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Goodbye.